All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I'm going to call this podcast is Use Your Insecurities to Motivate You to Get to the Gym. So you may think I'm crazy with some of these titles, but I really think that, I think that a lot of times when I come up with these titles, it's exactly how I feel and what I've gone through in my past. So I haven't done a podcast in a while. I've been gone. Actually, I ended up going to Hawaii for like a week, roughly, in California before that. So what inspired me to come up with this title, actually, was traveling. So I've been doing a lot of YouTube videos. I do some in the gyms. I do some in all these unique places. I go all over the place when I travel. And I was in Hawaii, and for most of the time, I was in Maui and Honolulu. I had my shirt off. It was wonderful. We did a bunch of hiking, worked out in some different gyms, hotel gyms. Even in California, went to some 24-hour fitness that I like going to as well, besides just LA Fitness and other gyms. And they see me shooting these videos, a lot of people. So I think just maybe the way I'm dressed or maybe the way I look, I guess people are always asking me if I'm a trainer. And then they ask if I wouldn't mind talking to them regarding some advice or what I think about this or that regarding fitness. And the one thing I realized, most people in North America is they're insecure on how they look a lot of times. And I don't know if that's programmed into us and our culture, but it seems like most of us have issues with our bodies. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. If you talk to most people, they're going to always have an issue. They think they're too fat, too thin, their legs are too little, their neck's too fat. There's a million different stories. It's all over the place. I even once had my crazy mother once put on a pair of shoes, and she asked me, do these shoes make me look fat? And I said, no, it's everything about the ankle that does. I meant that as a joke, but it's funny how we all perceive ourselves, how we think we look, right? And a lot of times it's ridiculous. I've talked about it on my podcast before. I always had what I called reversed anorexiism, which no matter how big I got, I always felt small, which I presume somebody who's anorexic, no matter how thin they get, they always feel fat. So one of the things I keep getting asked the most is what's going to motivate me to get me to a gym or start working out or start just getting fit or just anything regarding exercise. And I'm going to tell you right now, for one, it's on you. No, there's nothing I'm going to tell you right now, unless maybe somebody paid you to go work out, maybe then you would do it. Now, if that was your job and someone said, hey, I need you to get fit and I'm going to pay X amount of dollars, I think a lot of people would be working out. But most likely that's not going to happen. Okay, usually you get fit and then people may pay you after that to train them, or you may be in modeling or whatever the case may be. But most likely no one's going to pay you to get fit unless maybe your parents or somebody. I don't know. But here's the thing. For you to, I believe, or for a lot of people, to get really motivated is on you and how you feel about yourself. So if you really don't like the shape you're in, truly, then you're going to work out to feel better. But if you kind of don't like the shape you're in, but you can kind of be like, I'm okay kind of with it, most likely I don't see people really going out of their way because they don't have the oomph. They don't have the, really the drive to do it. So it's kind of like they may not like the way they look, but at the same time they'll let themselves, they'll kind of give themselves a pass. I think, like myself, the ones that are the most insecure, which I was very insecure with the way I looked because I always felt like a shrimp, or I felt very small. My arms, my legs, even though I was very strong for my size. And I think that was me being around a lot of Italian alpha males that were kind of big and stout. And even my father being a tall guy, pretty fit. My mother was very fit and very tall. I was like some little runt running around my family for the most part. So, but then as time went on, that all changed. But my point being is, what drove me to keep working out through my entire life. Excuse me, let me get some water. Sorry about that. All those years of playing sports and working out was the insecurity. So when I met all these different people in Hawaii, California again, all these other places, they kept asking me the one question is, man, I just can't seem to push myself to get into the gym. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily are lazy, but they look at themselves as being lazy, which isn't fair. A lot of people, men and women, are doing a lot of things now more than ever, especially if they have a family. You can't work all day, take care of your kids, take care of whatever you're taking care of, your household, helping others, be your parents, all these different things, and then always have the drive to go to the gym. I get it that a lot of times that gets pushed to the back burner, right? But don't beat yourself up on that. Okay, that's one thing I want to say. Definitely do not beat yourself up regarding you not always being able to get to the gym. You just got to come up with a realistic approach. But one thing too, regarding being insecure, you really got to start focusing in on really what you want and be realistic out of your workouts. Okay, if you really, like a lot of guys I know, they want bigger arms. Let's just say, for instance, especially younger teenager dudes, they want a bigger chest, right? They just want to look jacked. That's what you got to kind of focus on when you go to the gym, because you want to start seeing improvements. I know a lot of times people are like, I want certain types of results. They go work out. They don't focus in on what they really want to improve on. They kind of go overall. Then they don't see the improvements they want, and they either quit or they get bored. You've got to focus in on what you want to improve on. If you really want, like a lot of people too, especially middle age, man, I want to lose this gut, right? I really, my midsection, my core, it looks like shit. I'm getting older. I'm getting, cellulite on it. When I sit down, I didn't realize how big it was. Someone took a photo of me, blah, blah, blah. I used to be a 34-inch waist. Now I didn't realize it. I'm a 38, whatever the case may be. Go in the gym or go, I don't care if it's Pilates. I don't care if it's yoga. I don't care if you start walking. You have to put your mind, again, in the area that you want to focus in on, and that's what you really need to focus in on. You don't necessarily have to go to a gym and be like, okay, I want to lose the gut, but at the same time, I also want to get my arms jacked. I also want to get bigger calves. At the same time, I want to build a great cardio. I want this and that, and I get it if you want to do all those things. But I'm telling you, for the most part, you have to work at the beginning, I believe, on the things you're most interested in and the things you want to get the results on. So back to your core, because I've been through that myself, where I kind of neglected my core forever, and I kept lifting weights. I wanted to be so big that my core looked small. That's how crazy I was. But even though I was like a 54, 56 coat at one time, I had like a 38 waist. I didn't look, my shoulders and back were so big, it kind of made my waist look kind of okay. But then when I started to drop down, my waist still really didn't go bye-bye. It stayed. So I still had, let's say, a 36-inch waist, and my arms and things stayed the same, but my body just looked, it didn't look, my stomach looked, let's put it this way, a lot bigger than it did before. And I didn't like it. I didn't mind it when I was big and heavy because I kind of could hide it in sport coats and all that. But then definitely when I got smaller and I downsized to say 210, 220, and you're walking around a 36-inch waist. And again, a lot of times it's not when you're standing, it's when you sit down, right? So I had to say, you know what, I have to concentrate on my core, which I've been doing videos on that where I started to do abs first in my workouts. And that was the only time I started to really see good results. I started to swim more, and I focused in again on my midsection. I did not neglect it. And I've gone through that with many different body parts throughout my life. When I wanted to make improvements, it can even be arms, say, for instance. Sometimes my arms, I could tell, start to get weak. So I will dedicate a week, sometimes just a month, on my arms. I'll work out on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, bis and tris. I'll do different stuff. Of course, I'll incorporate always warming up my chest, shoulders, back, things like that. I won't totally build them off, but more of a warm-up where I just focus in on my arms, and before you know it, boom, my arms are at full strength again, as long as I don't destroy them and make them too fatigued. And then when I go to work out, it's shocking when your arms, when they get so much stronger, how much more involved they are, I guess you could say, especially like when you're doing chest or shoulders or even back. You're like, holy shit, I built this up again. And I've never done that with chest or back or shoulders, just so you know, just arms. And I've done that with calves as well. Sometimes my calves, for some reason, will start to downsize, or I start to lose strength in them. So again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will incorporate calves. Even if I'm not doing legs, I will still incorporate my calves. So I'm paying attention to these body parts. And I'm focusing in on sometimes, again, my insecurities. Maybe it's just in my head. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, my arms, I don't feel like I'm strong, or are they getting smaller? Again, I use the insecurity to motivate me to get to the gym. Because I think, too, with a lot of people is they don't realize their full potential in a gym. Even if they've worked out for, say, it could be 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I see this with a lot of my family members or friends that have worked out for years. They've just kind of go through the motions, right? They think they got the most out of their workout, or they think they can't improve on certain things. For one, they keep doing the same damn workout, which I understand a lot of times that's where you get your best results, so you stick with them. But I'm always trying to teach people you need to evolve. You need to always be changing your workouts up. You're aging, you're changing, what you're doing is changing, so you need to evolve. But most people don't really realize that what their true potential is, because they really don't push themselves. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to push yourselves like you're going in for a competition or any of that. But I don't think a lot of people realize when, if they take the time to focus in on certain body parts, the improvements they can really make. And a lot of times, too, I'll just use, say, not bodybuilding, but people lift weights. They're either doing too much, they're making the body part fatigue, or it's not getting the time to grow, or they're not doing it enough. There's almost a fine line there. And what you need to learn how to do is figure out what really does work best for you. A lot of guys I know will do chest 2 times a week. I'm like, I don't know if I would do that necessarily, but again, you have to figure out what your genetics are. But in my case, I almost structurally know, after doing this my whole life, what works for me, what's going to make my chest stronger, what's going to give me the results I need a lot of times. And the reason I know that is because I was constantly changing things up. I used to do chest 3 or 4 times a week when I was really young, like an idiot. Then I've done it 3 times, then I've done it 2, then I've done it 1, then I've done it once every 10 days. I've also incorporated all these different types of workouts, all these different types of movements. It could be equipment, it could be dumbbells, it could be straight bar, it could be all these different type of things. And it takes years to master that, and I don't think, again, people take the time to do that. So if you are going in a gym, take your time, and I constantly talk about this. Watch other people on YouTube. You can read a lot about it like I used to in the old days, but when you actually see people, what they're doing is so much better than reading about working out. Now, don't get me wrong. When you read about nutrition or different things, that's wonderful. But it's really hard to learn certain movements when it comes to exercising, because they're talking about it, kind of like I am right now, but you're not seeing me show you how to do this. But with technology and everything now, you could go on Instagram, even Facebook, but YouTube, and watch all these different movements and see what works for you. And also try to find somebody that looks like they have very similar genetics that you have, and they also got the results that you want, right? It's hard for me, say I'm 5'10", and there's a guy who's 6'4". I'm not saying I can't learn from him his different movements, and let's say he has a totally different body structure and everything, like to follow his workout routine, because for me, I want to follow somebody, again, who's around my height at the time, my weight, and kind of I see the results that he has gotten. So I know the potential is there to a certain degree, if that makes sense. That's just something I've always talked about. It's, even in the gym sometimes, what I used to love to do is find, though, different people with all different types of body types. But what I would do is try to find what their strengths were. So if I saw a dude, regardless his height or weight, with a monster back, I'd want to know about his back workout. So, for instance, when I was growing up years ago, there was one of the strongest powerlifters in the United States. He was actually older than me, but I was very young. But I watched his deadlifting and his back routine, and he was a monster. I mean, I forgot what he was deadlifting, but he held the world record, I think, in high school and college at one time at his weight class. So, for instance, I would study his back routine, and then And I think that's how I ended up with the back I had, especially not being on steroids. A lot of people just thought I was on steroids. I was like, no, I would just follow him and other professional bodybuilders, even Eddie Robinson. I'd seen some of his stuff, but I also saw one dude once. I don't even know who the hell he was. He was in our gym for a while. Super nice guy with some of the biggest arms I've ever seen in my life. And I said, man, I got to do it. You know, a lot of times you're intimidated. You don't want to bother them in a workout, but I would just watch what he's doing and then ask him a couple questions. And he was very polite, and he showed me something, bending over after each bicep workout and how to lift it up, almost like you're doing back. Holy shit. I'm telling you, like, in probably 6 months to a year, it probably put 1 inch to 2 inches on my arms. It was amazing just him showing me that. And those are the type of things I did. Same with legs. Obviously, I would still watch Lee Priest at professional bodybuilders from the past, and if I could catch their routines and what they did. But I also like going, and I still do this, I go in different gyms, and I'm always picking things up differently. And that's what inspires me to go to the gym too, which is what I'm going to wrap up here. If you, for one, if the gym or gyms that you go to, if they're not inspiring you, most likely you're not going to get really good results. At the beginning, you may get some, but for you to keep going, you got to like where you're going. It would be like anything else in life. If you hate going to work, a lot of times, I mean, you may get paid every week. You may get a certain type of, you may get the job done. I'm not saying you're not. But are you really enjoying what you're doing? Are you getting the results you want? And a lot of times, I don't think the answer is usually no, even though you are getting something accomplished. But as far as a gym goes, it's a little different because I call them making body deposits. Every time you go there, it's like you're putting, instead of putting money in an account like your bank account, you're doing that for your body. You're making your body healthier. If you're not inspired to go there, you don't like going there, you don't like the people there, you don't like the equipment, you don't like whatever you don't like there, you're going to have to get through it. Either learn to like it if that's all you have access to, or you're going to have to find somewhere else you want to go. Or you may have to find somebody that inspires you. You may need a partner, one or even two. I don't know. These are all things that you're going to have to figure out. But for you to really have the interest to work out, you can't just always look at something and say, I feel fat. I want to work out. But I can't seem to work out. I'm just not that interested in it. Well, yeah. So you have to figure out what is going to get you, to motivate you to get to either a gym, walk, hike, like I said, yoga, whatever the case may be. And I think what kills most people, and I was just talking to a lady about this in Honolulu. She kept saying, I had 2 kids, and I just can't, I don't know. How do I for one, not only start, but how do I keep consistent with it? Because it seems like the way she was talking was like I start, and then I quit, then I get bored, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, for one, this is all on her. She has to take 100% an interest in her body. And it's not just about now, even though she was younger, maybe in her 40s, you have to look at the future, what you really want to look like. Because I don't think people really realize, especially younger, that if they're getting heavier now, they're going to most likely be a lot heavier in the future. Not always. Some people get thinner. But if you're not in shape now, you're most likely going to get more shape. Most likely, unless you start making changes. So that would be something I'd really consider, because I don't think people consider that. And then all of a sudden it hits them and goes, you're absolutely right. Like, what did I look like? For instance, a lot of women, when they get married, they're thinner or whatever. Then, they may have 1 child. They look a certain way or feel a certain way. Then 2. Same with dudes. In their 20s, their 30s. Start going back and looking at your photos. Did you like the way you, back then you may have even thought you didn't look that good. But now you're looking at yourself saying, wow, I looked great then compared to now. What do you think you're going to look like 5, 10, 20 years down the line if you don't start taking care of yourself? Most likely not that good. So hopefully those are the type of things I was telling her to inspire her. Plus you if you have kids, or if you're married or whatever, I'm not saying you owe anything to anybody, but you kind of want to show your kids, I think a lot of times, how to live a semi-healthy lifestyle, right? Because our kids are being programmed by us. Hold on, let me get some more water. Your children, a lot of times, they will take after their parents. And when they become parents, a lot of the things they do or are doing are what, you did to them. And that could be, besides the food you're eating, your vacations, a lot of different type of things, right? So if you really got, it's a different time and space. I think I'm 50, so I was raised in an entirely different atmosphere with a lot of Italians eating a lot of pastas on one end, but I was eating a lot of great food back then. When I had my kids, truthfully, I went to a lot of Italian restaurants, and my ex-wife cooked a lot of different meals, but again, they were raised in an entirely different atmosphere. And what I was just recently talking to my daughter about yesterday, who's a fitness nut like myself, was I said, do you even remember me going to the gym all the time? Because I had a separate life with my kids. I would take them to school, and I'd either go work out, or later at night when I would put them to bed, I would work out late at night. So I had the day or nights to spend with them. And she's like, yeah, I always remember you working out and stuff. But I never took them to the gym once in my life and said, hey, here's daycare in the gym or any of that stuff. But they knew I loved sports, and obviously they knew, I guess. But I never had weights in my house, none of that stuff. But she knew that I worked out all the time, which made her eventually love to work out. And when in their teens, they started to go to the gym with me a little more. Now, that was my oldest daughter. Now, my youngest daughter, really, even though she belongs to a signature LA Fitness and stuff, she hates working out. But now, if I looked at my ex-wife, say for instance, she was an athlete for most of her life and then all of a sudden just stopped doing it. She didn't want to have anything to do with anything athletic. And it seems like my daughter, my youngest one, just doesn't like athletics. And I think she grew up with a mother that really wasn't doing anything more business-orientated. Everything was business. And that's exactly how she is. So it's interesting that I have one daughter that's like myself that loves going to the gym, and she even wants to become a trainer. My other daughter fell after more her mother, which was all business, nothing really physical. But she has the luxury of being extremely thin and tall. She almost looks like a model. So she's getting away with that now. But she even says, I hate sweating, which is funny. The other one always wants to sweat, and the other one doesn't want to sweat. But, yeah, back to that. I didn't mean to get on a tangent with that. But yes, if you also want to inspire to work out, look at it like you're showing your kids and maybe even your friends. Sometimes for you to get inspired, look at it at the point where you can inspire others. And I think that's another thing that I've always tried to do is not only did by me, I think trying to live healthier, working out has always kind of, other people around me have always been like, Rich, I just actually got a text from somebody who's in their late 30s. They're like, and that's not to toot my own horn. They're like, Rich, you've always been the dude like I'm trying to look like at your age. And I said, that's very nice of you. But I said, you look like a god. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's built. I'm like, you look amazing. Like, I mean, he's been fit his whole life. He's like, yeah, but his parents own a restaurant. And I used to be a lot bigger when he was a little boy. I've known him since he was 9 years old. But he's like, you're one of the reasons that I loved working out and weights. And I realized how big I could get and how strong and all these things. Sometimes that will also inspire me to keep going because I know I'm inspiring others. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Hopefully this was some type of help. If you're looking for motivation to get to the gym, though, just figure it out. And I sometimes kid around and say, yeah, use your insecurities as an inspiration, but I really kind of mean that because I think most of us are insecure about a lot of things. But are you insecure enough that you want to make a change? It's almost like the point where I don't know if you've ever had this, but sometimes you get so broke or you get so in debt or you have where you realize I have to start working harder. And I think sometimes you have to look at your body like that to a certain degree to say, hey, how far in debt am I putting my body physically before I pull out of this? When do I start going into the positive? Because it looks like I just keep going backwards. I'm getting too heavy or I'm getting too out of shape or I'm just drinking too much. Things are really positive and negatives if you look at it in life. And, I have nothing against anybody who smokes, drinks, or whatever, but if you are beating your body up, you got to remember you only get one. And I know a lot of people may or may not give a shit about that, but if you do, I promise you it's well worth it in the long run to take care of your body. Because I've discussed this in my other podcast. As you get older, to be in shape is so much easier than being out of shape. That I promise you. So, all right, if you'd like, you could check out my YouTube channel. It's just Rich CELENZA. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. And please leave a comment. Try to subscribe to my YouTube. I'm trying to build that up. And, get to the gym, you lazy pieces of shit. Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.